it all.
A huge thank you
for making Sports 1440
the most listened to sports radio station in Edmonton. From Gregor to Carius
to Low Tide.
We've got in-depth analysis on all your favorite sports. We are
Sports 1440.
You probably know Stingray for radio advertising.
What about digital advertising?
Yeah, we do that.
Connected TV?
We do that.
Search and social?
And that.
Programmatic? Digital out of home?
We do it all. Endless digital platforms to connect your business to more customers, to intrigue them, engage them, so they choose your product or service. Get started now at stingraymediasolutions.com and let us help your business grow. We are Stingray. That's what we do.
Saturday mornings live on Sports 1440.
Powered by Subaru.
Built for real-life confidence. Visit Subaru.ca.
The weather turned faster than you expected. You were focused on the slick roads, not the drinks you had with dinner. Now, a simple traffic stop has become an impaired driving charge, and your future feels uncertain. I'm Shannon Gunn-Emery with Gun Law Group. We understand that life is complicated and mistakes happen. Our job is to defend you and protect what's important, your license, your job, and your record. Get a dedicated team on your side. Visit gunlawgroup.ca. That's GUNN lawgroup.ca.
Trying to eat healthier? Consider the heart of your table, the bread. At Farmhouse Bakery, we believe in bread made with care and intention. We use whole grains milled fresh daily to retain maximum nutrition. Our sourdough is crafted through long fermentation, and all our recipes are built on simple ingredients you can actually pronounce. No preservatives, no additives, just wholesome, delicious bread you can feel good about sharing with your family. Farmhouse Bakery, next to Dairy Queen, Camrose.
For families raising children with disabilities, compassionate help is available. Heart 2 Care Home Care provides highly trained caregivers for respite care, personalized support with daily activities, and more. Visit heart2care.ca.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free radio player app and listen wherever you go.
I think today is the last day that you are legally allowed to say Happy New Year. So I'll take advantage of this last opportunity to do so. Happy New Year. Happy 2026. I hope your year is filled with good health, prosperity, and you make a lot of great memories. Welcome back to Hoop City with Paul Sir. Josh Fenwick, how are you today? Great to see you again. Being off for 2 weeks, that's too long, my friend.
Yeah, I know. It's good to be back. Good to see you. I'm looking forward to today. I have been since December 20th at about 12:30, I would say.
Likewise.
So I'm amped up to be back, ready to talk some hoops. Excited to hear Teresa Resch later on the show, even though I might have already listened to that interview.
Well, yeah, but I think the fact that we have Teresa on, it was interesting. Because I reached out to the Toronto Tempo, and for our viewers and listeners who may still not be familiar with that team name, the Toronto Tempo are the WNBA Canadian representatives. They are Team Canada in the WNBA. They will be playing this year in the WNBA. And we'll touch a little bit on that in Teresa's segment. But I had the chance this week to sit down with Teresa and have a real nice talk. But one of the things, Josh, that she said to me when I reached out and when our discussion started, and you may have seen it on the tape that you edited, but she asked, why are you reaching out now? Because I think everybody's used to waiting until right before the season to start talking about women's basketball and the WNBA. We're right in the throes of NCAA and the NBA itself. But I'll tell you, I'm real excited, genuinely, about the WNBA being in Canada, and also very, very curious about what it's like to start from nothing and say, we got to build a team now. We got to build an organization. We've got to be competitive. We've got to have a business plan, all of those things. And Teresa does a wonderful job of covering that. Now, we have a fantastic show today. We've got Teresa Resch. She'll be at 10:20 today. And then at 10:40, we'll bring in Doug MacLean, who many of you are familiar with. Doug has guest hosted and been a guest on this show. Doug and his sidekick, Mark Majot, are the voice of the University of Alberta Golden Bears and Pandas, who squared off last night over in the Saville Center. Bears had a runaway victory. Bears are 9-2. They're just rolling, people. I think they've exceeded expectations in every way under first-year head coach Jeff Pippas. But the Pandas, this was one of those rare opportunities where you get to see the number 1 and number 2 ranked teams in the country facing off against each other, and they did that last night. The University of Saskatchewan Huskies, under the great coach Lisa Tomaitis, took a 59-54 point victory over the Pandas in what I'm really curious to hear Doug and Mark's reflection on what was one of the most surprisingly dismal shooting performances by both teams. 59-54 doesn't reflect at all the talent level of these teams. And by the way, Josh, you'll also be, I think, pleasantly surprised at the Edmonton and Alberta content on both teams. It really is impressive that the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country are loaded with Alberta and Edmonton-based talent.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. Like, absolutely awesome. Hometown kids, or people that I've met who might have gone to high school with these people. Like, it's awesome that Alberta is represented the way it is in basketball. It shows a growing love of the game.
Growing love of the game and growing performance levels. I think we mentioned in our last show before Christmas, there are, I believe it's 17 boys and 15 girls from Alberta playing Division I basketball south of the border. Plus add in U Sports, CCAA. You're right. The talent pool continues to grow. Hour 2 in our deep dive, we're going to do something a little bit different, but I'm really looking forward to this. My son, Steve Sir, who has been on before, Steve has been the number 1 ranked 3x3 player for Canada for many, many years, and also is a national team coach for the country of Mongolia, who has become a world power in 3x3 in both men and women. But Steve's roots, of course, are at Ross Shepherd High School, where in 1999 and 2000, he was part of 2 provincial champions and the point guard on the 2000 and 2001 Ross Shep teams. This was a three-peat by Ross Shep under Coach Dave Youngs back in the day, was Spencer Dorward. And Spencer was an outstanding player, went on to play post-secondary basketball at both the University of Alberta and played for me at Concordia. But Spencer will be in as well. And the reason I'm excited to have Spencer in, Spencer is just a wealth of knowledge. He is he's just a kind of a brainiac. And really a lot of fun. So, and Spencer and Steve, good friends throughout their lives. We're going to have them in. And what we're going to focus on, Josh, is the rapidly changing landscape in NCAA basketball. Again, we touched on that in the last show. But when you look at what's going on with a NBA drafted player, a player who's been playing professionally, and that happens with many European players. They play professionally overseas. Now they're playing in the NCAA as well. There's so much happening, the transfer portal, et cetera. And we're going to do a deep dive into the NCAA, both on the men's and women's side, because the changes are really just hard to quantify. The NCAA today, Josh, is unrecognizable from the NCAA even 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think you're right. Again, coming from a guy that doesn't watch like college hoops religiously,
Right.
like some people out there, but you can see some differences for sure, especially with nationality of players playing in the NCAA. Obviously, there has been like a strong global aspect to it, but it is a primarily American dominated place. And now you're seeing more globalization in it. And then also difference of play styles, maybe similar to how the NBA is now.
Those are good points. And in our deep dive with Steven Spencer, we're going to talk about what you just mentioned, the globalization of the game, the turning the game into something that is, you cannot hide it anymore. It's always been big business, but now it's legitimately no holds barred, no shadows, no doubt about it. This is big business. You're paying players millions and millions of dollars in some cases to play for your school, usually on a one and done basis. So we're going to do a deep dive with Steven Spencer in hour 2 at 11 o'clock, and we'll go for the first two segments there. Why don't we jump over for three from D, Josh? Oh, actually, let's do the poll question first. Sorry.
Absolutely. All right. Poll question today on Hoop City Show on X, the Everything app. It's all happening on X. Follow us. Who's the biggest surprise, or what's the biggest surprise at this point in the NBA season? Is it the OKC Thunder sliding, the Celtics' success, the Knicks and their sputtering, or is it Phoenix and the Suns' resurgence? What is it for you?
I would say the Celtics' success. The moves that the Celtics made in the offseason of unloading a lot of salary and a lot of talent, getting rid of Drew Holiday, getting rid of Porzingis, Al Horford leaving, going, and really in the latter stages of his career with the Golden State Warriors. And then, of course, the big nuclear bomb was Jason Tatum tearing his Achilles in the playoffs last year, leaving really only Jaylen Brown as their true superstar. And to see the Celtics not only having a record above 500, Josh, but well above 500 and competing for the Eastern Conference leading best record. It really is remarkable. And over the last 3 weeks, really since you and I have been on the show, Jaylen Brown has absolutely thrust himself into the MVP talk right now. And we're going to talk a little about the MVP in just a minute, but Jaylen Brown's been great. And the Celtics have been performing way above. Shout out to Luke Garza, who was from the University of Iowa. Everybody knows I'm an Iowa homer. He was always kind of a bench player, just kind of one of those nice guys you have sitting at the end of the bench. Never got any minutes with the Minnesota Timberwolves. But now, because of the personnel shortages in Boston, Garza actually has to play, and he's contributing. And he's not the primary reason, but he is one of the role players that's contributing to the Celtics' success. Who would you pick, Josh?
For me, I think it's the OKC sliding.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago about, could they break the wins record or whatever? And technically that is still on the table. But I didn't expect them to slide this much. It was sort of like your Timberwolves. Obviously, they have problems with the Spurs. They've lost to them 3 times this year already. The Timberwolves beating them in overtime, where Anthony Edwards sort of took over that last minute, sort of just seemed to knock them off their game. And I think to a certain extent, Jalen Williams coming back. But now, like, you're starting to see cracks in the armor of what we thought was an unstoppable OKC team. Like, they beat the brakes off of you for 3 quarters, and then they're bringing in their 11 to 15 players on the roster because they're already up 30. Like, it doesn't matter. These guys can keep the lead. So I think them falling off to the point that they're at right now, it's still a very good team. You got to watch out. But them being where they are is very, very surprising to me, especially that 27-point loss in Oklahoma City to the Charlotte Hornets.
That when I didn't watch the game, but when I turned on, looking at the NBA scores and I saw that, I go, God, this has got to be wrong. But obviously it wasn't. I think your points are well taken. It seems to me, if I had to theorize about what's going on in OKC, Last night they had a 1-point win. Now that doesn't sound like much over a weak team, and I'm struggling right now with who that was against. But it was 117-116. I do remember the score. But that was without SGA, and that was without Chet Holmgren and without Hartenstein. So they had to win a game with their bench, much like Denver is trying to do right now without their great star. And not just their great star, they competed last night without Nikola Jokic and without Jamal Murray, who has just been outstanding this year. But I think your points are well taken. I think their youth is showing up. I think integrating Williams back into the lineup has been problematic, quite honestly. They do not have the rhythm and flow that they had last year with Williams that they were used to having. And I think San Antonio busted through the sense of invincibility that not only the Thunder felt, but that their opponents felt about the Thunder. I think they dispelled the rumor. They became beatable. And since then, their defense has weakened and their offense has sputtered. So this could be a midseason adjustment. As I mentioned in my blog that I just sent out, this is a marathon, not a sprint. We continually say that. We probably, not probably, Josh, we thoroughly jump to conclusions about the Thunder seeming inevitable breaking of the record. But when you're looking at an 82-game season, when you're looking at injuries, and when you're looking at team culture and team confidence, so much can change so quickly.
Yeah. I don't know if we're allowed to say that the youth is shining through when you're the reigning NBA champions. Like, just to push back on that a little bit.
Oh, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, I agree. They are the defending NBA champions. You're right. But even NBA champions can get rattled. And I think that's what the Spurs did, is they rattled them. And also they showed ways of getting the ball out of SGA's hands quicker, defending him a bit differently, and making the rest of the Thunder a bit more uncomfortable. So there's technical ways. And remember, these guys are still really young. And so you can't replace the fact that when you're playing with 21, 22, 23-year-olds, that even though they won a championship, that doesn't mean that always transfers forward. So there's still growth to be had. And you know what, Josh, by the end of the season, they could have righted the ship. They're extremely well coached. We know their talent. If they are able to get healthy and remain healthy, you have to still look at the Thunder as the favorites going into the end of the season to repeat as the NBA champions.
Yeah, without a doubt. They also have a problem rebounding. I'm just trying to find it right now to see where they are. But this is a thing that Declan and I had both noticed, was that, like, there's a reason that teams with who their best players are centers bust them so much. And it's because they, outside of Hartenstein, they don't really have a guy that can really compete for rebounds with people. And that's where you see that, like, rebounds are such an important part of the game. It's like, if you can control the rebound, you can almost control the game entirely, because you get more chances or you can get into your offense faster.
And there has been a much greater emphasis in the NBA this year on offensive rebounding in particular. And your point's well taken. Bigger lineups do tend to present some problems for the Thunder in the rebounding department. I always think of Chet Holmgren, who's a marvelously skilled young player who is evolving into, really one of the premier players in the league. But obviously anybody that watches Chet play, he's really skinny. I think of Chet back in the 90s with the defense they played then, with the physical centers that they had then, what a different experience this would be for him as a player. He'd still be very good. He just wouldn't be the same as he is today and able to do the same things as he is today. But they really don't have, without Hartenstein in there, and also the other backup Williams, the other Jay Williams, without them, their rebounding effectiveness and their rebounding capacity goes way, way down. So these are problems right now that health may correct, but only time will tell as they get healthy and as they're able to integrate their best players back into their lineup, whether they can address that. Let's go to number 2.
Okay, number 2. Should the NBA change the rules now regarding the requirement to play 65 games and a specified number of minutes to be eligible for postseason awards?
The reason the NBA put this rule into effect was because of the ludicrous amount of load management that was taking place in the league, where players were sitting out games, not playing very many minutes because teams, and it's interesting, the franchise that popularized this more than any was the San Antonio Spurs under Coach Popovich, particularly around Tim Duncan and Tony Parker as they were aging, and then Kawhi Leonard as he became more and more injury prone, that the Spurs began to really emphasize load management. And everybody, like we've talked about many, many times, the NBA are like sheep. If somebody's doing something successfully, everybody else is going to try to copy it and try to do it the same way. So I think they were trying to, correctly address, you can't just sit people and then still be eligible for the high-level awards at the end of the season. But on the unfortunate circumstance that they set 65 games, which is a lot, 65 out of 82 games. To me, that's a lot of games. And there's a certain number of minutes that you have to play as well. Who does this penalize? Nikola Jokic, obviously. Nikola Jokic has to be in the MVP race if he is able to recover from his knee injury and be back roughly in the time frame that they're talking about, which is the end of this month. To exclude Nikola Jokic is ridiculous. Let's say SGA's out and he's got 66 games, or they have to limit his minutes because of some injury and the fact that he's coming back slowly. So the doctors put a limitation on how many minutes he has to play. So I get it. On one hand, what this does is it could pull Jokic out of the discussion. It could thrust, as we were talking about, Jaylen Brown. We're talking about other players that are playing extremely well. They all of a sudden, Ant comes into the discussion. Cunningham from Detroit comes into the discussion. They're having phenomenal seasons. So I think that, but if it were up to me, and it isn't, the NBA is going to have a hard time doing a mid-season adjustment. But if it were up to me, yeah, I'd change it, because I would hate to see Jokic play 63 games and not be eligible to be the MVP.
They should at least put like an asterisk or something. If you're injured and you missed 2 games or something, or 2 extra games, it's like, maybe we still are able to give it to this guy because injury has played a factor into this, because it is a rule that was brought in to stop load management.
You're right, but can you imagine if you're the second place player in the ballot and they adjust the rules so that Nikola Jokic, using him as the example, is now named the MVP? I think the lawyers would be pushing a lot of paper out if that were to happen. So I don't think it will happen. Should it happen? I believe it should. And certainly it should be reviewed at the end of the season to try to come up with a more equitable way to take injuries into account that legitimately keep top players out, as opposed to the lazy, sloppy way of just again, being very judgmental in my language here, but the lazy, sloppy way franchises have made load management such an important part of their strategy. Let's go to number 3.
All right, number 3. Give me a player focus. Who's been really good in your eyes so far, or since the last time we talked, or anything like that? Whatever your criteria wants to be.
Jokic, until he was hurt, I don't know how many of our viewers and listeners saw the Christmas Day performance by Nikola Jokic.
That was something.
55, 16, and 15. I mean, it was one of the best games ever in the history of the NBA, without question. 18 points in overtime to win. It was just remarkable. And then, of course, and Ben Golliver, and we hope Ben will be back on the show next week. But Ben, we were discussing about Jokic's durability maybe being somewhat due to the fact that he's not a high flyer, highly athletic guy who's jumping out of the gym, that sort of thing. But you can't predict the X factor, the injuries that can happen just low to the ground where a teammate rolls into your knee and hyperextends it. And unfortunately, that's what happened. So Jokic was playing great, but then Jaylen Brown has just been marvelous lately, pulling the Celtics back into relevance. Another guy, Dylan Brooks, Canadian Dylan Brooks. if you had to point to one factor why the Suns are resurging, Josh, it's Dillon Brooks. Devin Booker's a great player. Other players are stepping up, but Dillon Brooks, I think, is more responsible, not just for the on-court toughness, of which, there's a lot of talk about Dillon Brooks and his snarly personality, but his determination, willingness, and the way he's affected the toughness factor in Phoenix, which was completely absent when with the last couple of iterations over the last 2 seasons there. And by the way, Josh, Kevin Durant was, I'll use the term, whining the other day about being the scapegoat for what was happening in Phoenix. And certainly I'm sure there's some valid points that he's making, but you can't argue with success. And Dillon, his point per game is way up. His defensive status, again, is all league, a first team all NBA if you had to vote today for an all defensive team. But I think Dillon Brooks has just been marvelous so far. How about yourself, Josh?
Whoever would have thought that you'd be talking about Dillon Brooks like that, huh?
I know.
That is something else. Obviously, a little bit of a homer pick here. Scotty Barnes, it continues like an incredible run since the last time we were together, Paul. He put up 2 triple-doubles in 3 games. Him and Colin Murray-Boyles together, who's another guy, a rookie. Shout out to him. He's been playing very, very well.
Yes.
They're the best defensive rated pairing in the league now. So like when they're on the court, it's very tough to score. So Scotty Barnes is sort of my one because I watch him more than everybody else. Am I allowed to say the bench for the Denver Nuggets because they've been missing their entire starting lineup and they've managed to stay competitive and actually win some games without Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray at this point has been in and out of the lineup. Like they are playing well without their stars, which is blowing me away.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. Like to go into Philadelphia and win, that's ridiculous. Like they are I'll use the term courage, even though that seems like a flowery term that maybe is a bit over the top when you're talking about highly paid professionals displaying courage on the field of battle. But I believe that the courage, the determination, and the culture in Denver emanating from their leadership. And this is where players like Jokic and Murray, the way that they play, the way that they prepare, the way that they battle night after night, that permeates into the whole team. And I think that's what we're seeing with Denver. They have taken it personally, they being the bench, that while their superstar and now superstars are out, they are not going to let the franchise fall too far. They're going to lose some games. They got hammered by the Hawks last night. But not only were they out without Jokic and Murray, they also had a couple of their bench players injured. Christian Braun played like 23 minutes, had 0 points. He is out of shape. He hasn't played the entire season until now. So he's going to be a work in progress. And they're being very, very careful with Aaron Gordon because he is so injury prone. But no, I think that's a great shout out. Before we go to break, I'll mention 2 other people. Anthony Edwards has been fantastic. He's the 3rd youngest player ever to reach 10,000 points in his NBA career. The guy's only 23. And then Denis Avdija from, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, from the Portland Trailblazers, who came back last night down big going into the 4th quarter to defeat the Houston Rockets again. This is a team that is now 19-20, and this player is of Israeli heritage, has been one of the best players, like certainly top 10 in the league. His ability on offense is incredible. If you haven't watched Denis Avdija, watch him. He is a phenomenal player, along like with Cade Cunningham. This new group of players that are, I think, really adding depth to the star power that's in this league that's coming up. So we're going to take a break right now. And when we come back, you're going to listen to my conversation with Teresa Resch, the president of the Toronto Tempo, Toronto's new WNBA team, here on Hoop City with Paul Sir and Josh Fenwick.
Your all-access pass to the world of sports
is Edmonton's only sports radio station.
From pre- and post-game hockey shows to in-depth analysis from your favorite commentators, The action never stops on Sports 1440.
Own and run a small business? Innovative Benefits provides private health service plan setup, as well as administration services for businesses like yours. But the best part is, Innovative Benefits offers benefit plans that cost less than the industry average, 20 to 40% less. And they provide 100% coverage with no insurance company rules, administration, or interference. So if you have medical, dental, or healthcare expenses, their plans will always increase your cash flow. Visit innovativebenefits.ca for more.
When you hit the ice, it's all about you and your skates. The stride, the feel, the glide, the power, the performance. Why trust your skates to a grinding machine, or even worse, a tournament parent in a parking lot? At Aligned Custom Skate Performance in Sherwood Park, the art of skate fitting and sharpening is customized to the athlete.
Aligned Custom Skate Performance, where precision meets passion. Oh.
Visit AlignedSkate.com to learn more.
Saturday mornings live on Sports 1440.
Powered by Subaru.
Safety, reliability, and uncommon value. Visit Subaru.ca. Start your day with a blast of sports.
Kevin Carius, along with Brandon Douglas, brings the fire, the fun, and the fearless takes. Weekdays, 7 to 11.
Text Kevin, 883-401-1440. Mornings with Sports 1440.
Welcome you back to Hoop City with Paul Sir here on Sports 1440. I am really excited, and to be honest, I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I am pleased to be welcoming back the president of the Toronto Tempo. Theresa Resch is joining us from Toronto as she overlooks the Scotiabank Arena, and Theresa is going to bring us up to date on all that is happening with getting this team formed and ready to go. And Theresa, thanks so much for making time today.
No, it's great to be here. And yeah, I may overlook Scotiabank Arena, but we're excited to play at Coca-Cola Coliseum and have CIBC and Sephora on our jerseys. Like, so much has happened since we last talked. So good to be back.
Well, it's great to have you back. And let's start there. I mean, I'll drop another brand. As it relates to the Raptors, Tangerine has been a long-time banking supporter. I mean, we got Scotiabank on the arena, but we got Tangerine Bank with the Raptors. I'm excited that CIBC has jumped on board with the Tempo. Talk about that partnership. And Sephora, my goodness, that is a marvelous partnership.
Yeah, both of our founding partners came on board, before we even had a name. So they were very excited and saw, more than anything, they're incredible partners because they saw the value in women's sports. And they were first at the table to say, we want to be part of this. We want to be part of this in a big way. And we value what you're bringing to the community and to sports. And it was great to be able to announce a partnership. So we announced Sephora just at the beginning of the year, about almost exactly a year ago, and then CIBC last spring. And then we were able to actually show them on our jerseys when we released that in middle of December. So great to have those partners on board. Sephora already stepped up and was a partner with us for Tempo Together, our belonging platform, kind of like an elevated code of conduct for our fans that was created with them, that we launched in the summertime. CIBC, incredible program, Champions of Ambition, that has been running all season long. If you watch some of those Raptor games, sometimes you might see some of those ads.
I do.
Featuring our general manager, Monica Rogers. So definitely two brands that have stepped up and we're excited to have on board, not just for the first season, but multi-year deals.
Theresa, I was thinking about how I could frame what I believe you're doing in your particular role. And the idea came to me that you're in a pottery class and you've been handed this ball of clay, and then you've been said, all right, make this into a professional women's basketball team vase. And it's like you're starting in a way. You're starting from scratch, and I know that's a bit of an exaggeration, but I think the idea is true in that you're in a new country. Your women's basketball is huge in Canada. As I mentioned to you, I'm wearing the Edmonton Grad sweatshirt and logo. Women's basketball is very special in Edmonton, but we've seen such an outpouring, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. But what's it been like putting together the early stages of this team and getting ready for the upcoming season?
Well, I think your analogy is great. I think I'd add some more details, right? So you have the potter's wheel, you have this clay, but what we have is, we've never worked with it before, but we know we have this like the most exquisite, best possible clay we get to work with, right? So we have like this incredible piece to start with, this raw kind of like product. We've never worked with it before, but then we also have, you know how you always use water and some other tools to like, we have all those resources available to us to shape it and mold it though. Just never done it. So there's a lot of pressure to make sure that this like very expensive kind of raw materials gets shaped into this exquisite elite level Voss or team. And we know we have all the tools, but we've never used them before. So like that's kind of what we're doing right now. And it's an incredible opportunity. It feels that way, a lot of pressure, but also a lot of great things that have been done before us, right? So many different people who have, go back to the analogy, so many incredible clay makers and Voss makers who have been the best in the world, who are at our disposal to help us make something and create something beautiful. So we've done a lot of work in the last year and a half since we were awarded the team in May of 2024. But we have some big work left to do. And a lot of that is surrounding the actual basketball team. So we have an expansion draft coming up. We have free agency. We have the college draft to really mold the team. We still have some hiring to do. We have our head coach, Sandy Brondello, very excited to have her on board, a proven winner. She's going to build out her staff. We need to have the support staff, scouts, medical to keep the players healthy. And then we also are working on the team, the business side too. So we have season seat holders. We've sold out of that allotment, but we're going to go on sale with partial plans, with group tickets. And then ultimately after the schedule is released, we'll have single tickets for sale. So a lot to do there too. That will be really fun. We're going to have a full campaign leading up to the launch of the season, first ever season. So we're going to build a ton of excitement. And then we'll have additional partners. We talked about CIBC and Sephora as our founding partners. We had a great partner step up, TurboTax, and they led a mascot aura audit, which was pretty fun throughout the month of December. But we'll have an announcement of other partners coming on board as well.
So other than that, you're not doing much of anything, right? That's
just at my potter's wheel, shaping that exquisite raw material clay.
Absolutely. While on a unicycle juggling chainsaws. So I think it's marvelous to hear. But I think the reason I wanted to talk about that is I wanted to give our listeners and viewers an opportunity to understand what it means to try to put a professional sports franchise, groundbreaking professional sports franchise together from scratch. And what you and your team are doing is actually just fantastic. And I'm talking to Theresa Resch. She is the president of the Toronto Tempo, Canada's new entry into the WNBA, here on Hoop City with Paul Sir. I just want to touch on Sandy Brondello. I mean, what a resume. I was reviewing it again right before we had the conversation, but as a player, as an Australian player who was a 3-time Olympian with 3 medals, going into an outstanding playing career in the WNBA, phasing into coaching, winning 2 championships, most recently 2024 with the New York Liberty. The foundation to have that individual with that pedigree, with that experience to draw on, how important is that? You've touched on it already, but I think it merits a statement just on Sandy's presence of what it means to the team and to the franchise.
You missed one quality that Sandy has, which she's an incredible person. She's exceptionally, I've gotten to work with her a little bit. She did have some duties, as you mentioned. She's a now the head coach of the Australian national team. So she was there for a while over the winter, working with the national team there. But she's an incredible collaborator, a great person. She doesn't take herself too seriously. She likes to have fun as well. And you want to work with people that you want to spend time with. And Sandy's definitely one of those people. So we can't forget that quality to go along with all the other things on her resume.
Maybe that's the most important quality anyway.
Yeah. But I do believe that, you know, by hiring her and really by her choosing us, because she had many options out there, it really sends a message to the league that we're serious, we're a serious contender, and we're serious about winning. So I don't think that we can say it, we can talk it, but the actions that we take are really is what we're going to be measured against. And I think by hiring Sandy, we've definitely sent a message that that's what we're about.
Teresa, you're part of the WNBA at a historical time in women's sports in general, but women's basketball specifically. The growth in popularity of the WNBA over the last couple of years has been remarkable. You're still in the midst of a collective bargaining negotiation. It's a significant one because it is going to set the tone and lay out the pathway for moving forward on how the WNBA is growing up as a professional sports league. But talk about the role and the importance of an expansion team like the Tempo in the WNBA at this point in women's basketball history, where there's so much momentum, so much emerging passion, and such a great fan base continuing to grow. How important are the Tempo in that big picture that I just painted?
Well, Paul, I'm obviously going to be very biased with this answer because I am the president of Tempo. So I think that we are exceptionally important and a key part of the WNBA strategy. But the one thing that is very true, and I'm not biased, is like we are entering this league into a whole new atmosphere. We were the first team outside of the United States. We are representing an entire country. With the membership in the league, we are also granted commercial rights from coast to coast across Canada, which means that our IP, our name, logo, will be across this country, not limited to just Toronto. And that is a new precedent that's never been done before. So we're ushering in really an international reach for the league that they've never had before. And we're really proud to be that and to have that as an opportunity and really a responsibility for this team.
It is a big responsibility to have a nation, not just a city to speak to. And that'll be my final question, because I know your time is limited. But what will the Tempo be doing outside of Toronto to build this as Canada's team?
Yeah, so in year one, we've announced that we're going to be playing games, home games outside of Toronto. So we've announced 2 games in Montreal and 2 games in Vancouver. So we're really excited to activate in those specific markets. The way that we show up, we look forward to encapsulating all of Canada. We look forward to hearing from our fans and how we can do that well. We plan to have, games across linear and streaming and, accessible through our social channels and, all kinds of ways that fans can interact, even if you can't get to a game, whether it's in Toronto, Montreal, or Vancouver, because we want everybody to feel part of this. And we're working on it, right? I think that that's part of it is like, we are new, we have great ambitions, but those are only as good as the people that we're talking to. So we look forward to hearing from the fans, telling us how we can show up, ways in which we can show up that will make you all feel part of it, even if you're not at a game, not at every single game, or on the court playing, right? Like the fans are, there's a reason why we have 6 speed lines. It represents the 5 players on the court and the 6, the fans, and those people that support those players that are representing us on the court. And that's all of Canada. And honestly, more than that, right? I mean, I think we represent Canada as the Toronto Tempo, but we envision our fans to be across this world and global. We know that Canada is home to so many new Canadians, me including one. I became a citizen in 2022, so I'm a new Canadian, and there's a lot of people like me who have come to this country and latched on to the most exciting thing that's happening at the time. And I like to think that that's the tempo, and it makes you feel closer to this country. But ultimately, your friends and family maybe aren't all here, but you're staying in contact with them, and therefore those people also have a favorite team in the Toronto Tempo.
Absolutely. Well, Teresa, we're excited to hear and to see the releases that will be coming out about everything that you're doing, from playing to buying tickets, to broadcast, everything that the Tempo will be standing for. Thanks so much for making some time. I'll look forward to speaking with you again as your time allows, as we get closer to the season. But it's great to see you. Thank you for the work that you're doing, and all the best in the upcoming days, weeks, and months leading up to this very exciting time that's coming up for women's basketball through the Tempo in Canada.
Amazing. Thanks for having me, and thanks for always telling the Tempo story. Can't wait to actually get on the court.
Absolutely. Teresa Resch, president of the Toronto Tempo of the WNBA, in their lead up to the inaugural season here on Hoop City with Paul Sir on Sports 1440.
Take your skating to the next level with Aligned Custom Skate Performance in Sherwood Park. We make your skates feel like an extension of you. From kids lacing up for the first time to beer league warriors to elite level pros, we fit every skater with precision and care. Only a duster goes straight from off the shelf to on the ice. Our expert alignment process ensures the perfect fit, eliminating pressure points and maximizing your blade's performance. Aligned Custom Skate gives you the edge where it matters most, on the ice. Stop being the team grocery stick and visit AlignedSkate.com today. Whether it's a full custom fitting or professional sharpening, we've got you covered. So don't just skate, skate aligned. Book your appointment today and feel the difference. Discover why we're trusted by hockey pros and podium champions. Help us cure the bender in your life. Once again, visit AlignedSkate.com to get started.
Custom skate performance with precision meets passion.
Saturday mornings live on Sports 1440. Powered by Subaru. The perfect choice for Alberta's challenging weather and road conditions. Visit Subaru.ca.
This hockey season, before every game, check out the pregame show with Andrew Walker on Sports 1440. It's brought to you by Titan Supply, your only source for rigging, lifting, and hauling products. Visit TitanSupply.ca.
Have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. What a set from Curry.
Here's your host, Paul Sir.
Welcome back, Hoop City. Paul Sir, Josh Fenwick joining you from Sports 1440. I'm pleased to be joined by two guys I just can't say enough good things about, but I won't do that now because I don't want them getting big heads. So I welcome Doug MacLean, Marc Maugeot to the program, voices of the Alberta Golden Bears and Pandas, joining us here on Hoop City. Now, guys, welcome, first of all.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is great.
This is awesome to have you here. Last night, low-scoring game, percentages that I don't think would be ever affiliated with either team. Talk about the game. Was it a defensive struggle? So you end up with what, a 59-54 game, or was it rust, or was it nerves, or a combination of all of the above?
Go, Mark. You tackle. Yeah. I think it was a combination of everything. I don't quite think it was rust. The Pandas scheduled a game in between kind of Christmas and the New Year to maybe possibly knock some of that rust off. I think when you have two teams that play as staunch defense as these two teams play, your margin for error is just so small. And we saw it last night with the amount of turnovers, the amount of just missed shots. I just think these teams can ratchet up the defensive pressure so much, and that's what both these teams are kind of been known for over the last 20 years. So I think it was a combination of both. And Doug, I don't know if anything else really jumped out to you, but I just think these teams are so good that they both were prepared for the rock fight that we had last night.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, you have, again, the two best offensive teams in the nation, the two best defensive teams in the nation. And last night, defense won out. And I mean, they like you said, Mark, they play such similar styles. You can't stop moving. You can't, as a ball handler, you can't stop moving, and the ball can't stop, because if you do that, there are 2-3 opposition jerseys right around you trying to strip the ball away. I mean, Mark must have said tie up 75 times last night, because it was just nonstop with this, the way that they attacked the ball. And so I think defense just simply won out. You couldn't get clean looks anywhere. It was just really tough. And it was a 3 or 4 minute stretch in that fourth quarter where the Pandas committed some turnovers. Huskies, who have been good on the offensive glass all night, continued that and converted. And that was really the whole tale. And what, I mean, it could have easily been a 59-54 Pandas win the way this game went. I mean, these are the two best teams. I still think the two best teams in the nation. We haven't seen Calgary and Regina yet, and other teams from, further out east. But man, if there are better teams than these two, I'd love to see them.
Well, guys, I think that's I love the term rock fight when you're in battles like this, because when you don't play the game, if you haven't had the opportunity to play against a high-level defense that both of these teams throw at you, you don't realize how it affects you offensively and how you feel like you have to speed everything up to be successful against them, how you feel like you have to shoot a little bit quicker because of how they contest, as you were mentioning about swarming the ball, to try to battle through that. And I will go back to a premise I have just as a coach and a player more than anything. When you have a long layoff, even with one game in between, as you mentioned, Mark, that's very different from playing on a regular basis, having practice and games coming at you in a more predictable way. So to have 1 and 2 going at each other affected them last night. So I'm going to go to you first on this one, Doug. What do you expect tonight from the Huskies and the Pandas?
I think that's a good question. I think that, to your point, Paul, I think the pace will quicken at the offensive end a little bit. I think decision-making will maybe be a little bit sharper. And I think, hey, when you've got to look from 12 feet, you take it. You don't try to force something else. I think we saw a little bit of that, especially from the Pandas in the first quarter last night, a little bit of hesitancy. I mean, I'm open, but is there something better? And I think that kind of pace maybe offensively will shift a little bit. But to be honest, I don't think we're going to see the kind of percentages that we saw last night. I mean, both teams shot 14% from the three-point line. Pandas are the best three-point shooting team in the country. We're not going to see that again, but it would not surprise me for seeing, again, a score that's under 60, just the way these teams play defensively.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Would you agree with that, Mark?
Yeah, I would. I think there was a bit of a feeling out process, and Doug had the numbers last night. Both these teams were accustomed to having large leads after the first quarter and large leads at halftime. And it was, as I just looked down at the box score, it was a 2-point game at halftime, and it was tied following the third quarter. And I do think there is something about the myth of the Saskatchewan Huskies. Like, Paul, they haven't lost in 434 days. That's across preseason.
I thought you were going to say 434 games. I would have believed that too.
It feels like that. And I think sometimes in sports, sometimes you can get in your head before the game even starts. We've seen it across every single league. The 72-win Bulls, right? How many times were they in the opponent's heads before tip-off happened? Or the 2007 Patriots, right? Like, oh, it's over, so we can't even try. But I do think that the Pandas, they were in this. And I think outside of a 4-minute stretch in the fourth quarter, they had a chance to win this game. They made it really close in the end. But in the end, I think maybe just, again, the myth of the Huskies kind of got in that Pandas' head. And I don't think it's going to happen tonight. I think they know exactly what they're in for. I also think the Huskies, I think we talk about this streak more than the Huskies do. I think they're going into tonight 0-0, not worrying about what's happened over the last 400 plus days. So I think, I don't think the Huskies are going to shoot 2 from 14 from 3, and I don't think the Pandas are going to be 4 from 27 from 3 tonight. So I anticipate another close game, but I do anticipate another rock fight.
you really, I think, highlight something. And by the way, I am talking to Mark Majot, Doug McLean, voice of the University of Alberta Golden Bears and the Pandas. And we're talking about the loss last night by the Pandas, the first loss of the season. And guys, that was very unusual. You kind of can't make this up. Last night you had Calgary squaring off against Regina. Both teams 10-0. Alberta, University of Alberta squaring off against University of Saskatchewan, both teams 10-0. I've never seen that before. So now we've got two undefeated teams, both happen to be from our province to the east. And the Alberta teams both have one loss with opportunities for redemption tonight. But I guess one of the things that you mentioned, Mark, that I would like to build on, and that is the aura of Lisa Tomaitis. But I'm going to add Scott Edwards into this. I believe you have, if not the two best coaches in the country, then you're hard pressed to find two better coaches in the country, and yet Lisa's won a couple. She's won championships. The Pandas have been close, but that aura does carry weight and does affect you in critical moments, and that really is what they have to break through tonight. And they being the Pandas, wouldn't you agree, Mark?
Yes, absolutely. There's something about, like, even the Huskies coaching staff, the fact that they're dressed all in black, it just, like, everything about them seems intimidating.
Darth Vader effect?
Yeah, it really kind of seemed like that. And I hate to mention this team, but the 2004 Red Sox that rallied down from 3-0 against the Yankees,
yes,
they called themselves idiots. And they meant that as a compliment, saying, like, we don't know about this history. Like, we're just going to go out and we're going to take it one game at a time. And eventually that kind of worked for them. Now, I don't think the Pandas need to call themselves that word, but I do think there is a part of why not us? Like, we've stuck with this team close. One of Doug's keys to the game last night was just treat the Huskies like any other opponent. Sure, they're a really good opponent, but you can't automatically surrender the second you see that team hit the floor. And I don't think that's quite what happened last night, but I think that's something they really need to dig into tonight. Just saying they're a very good team, but if it weren't for the Huskies, we'd be talking about how good this Panda team is, because their last 3 regular season defeats have all come at the hands of the Huskies, dating back to last season. So if you take Saskatchewan out of the mix, we are talking about this phenomenal juggernaut known as the Pandas.
Absolutely. Doug, your thoughts on tonight? If you were Coach Edwards, what would be the one key element that you would try to impart on your team that you think could take those nerves that Mark just articulated very well, that might take that aura out of the equation and just get the focus totally on basketball? What one thing would you do?
I that's a great question. And I think it's probably, the answer sounds easier than it probably is to ultimately execute, but it's just play your game. I mean, there are multiple, the Pandas, I'll use an example. The Pandas are a team that like to run. The Huskies they're really good in transition defensive. They don't give you a lot. But the Pandas had some opportunities last night. There was one play, and I want to say it was in the second quarter, I might be off on this, where rebounds grab, Mission Miller takes off down the floor. She's open. She's not open for long, but she's open. Oftentimes you'd see the Pandas make that pass up the floor, layup, score, get back, play defense. There was a hesitation there. It was like, oh, I don't know. If I make this pass, someone might deflect. And I think they got to get back to just playing their game. We saw that a little more in the last 5 minutes. I mean, they were down double digits, and they kind of just settled down a little bit and got back into being a really good rebounding team. These are the 2 best offensive rebounding teams in the nation. Saskatchewan dominated that in the first 3.5 quarters. The Pandas dominated the last 5 minutes. So it's just, again, it sounds simpler than I think it really is, but it's just get back to the things that you do well. Yes, the Huskies are quick. They're going to take things away from you, but when you're hesitant and you're not sure about everything you're doing, you're just playing into their hands. You have to, I'm not saying you have to take chances, but trust your eyes, trust what you see, and make the plays that you would normally make. Whether they're wearing green jerseys or blue jerseys doesn't really matter. And I think there was a bit of that going on last night, especially early. And in that, again, we've talked about that 3 or 4 minute stretch in the fourth quarter where it was like, I'm not sure that we entirely belong here. turnovers happened, buckets the other way, and the game was somewhat lost. So play your game. They're more than capable of going toe-to-toe with the Huskies. We saw that last night.
Actually, Doug, I think that is marvelous advice that, if listened to, would serve the Pandas extremely well, because when you boil it all away, basketball really is a simple game. It is the emotions. It is the presuppositions that sometimes we have about who we're playing. It's overthinking as opposed to putting your focus, time, and energy just into playing. So this is why this series is so important, and it's so great starting the second half of the season, because this is what's going to sharpen up both teams as the playoffs loom, because they have some very difficult games, all of them coming up when they start playing, when you start talking about the top 4 teams that I mentioned in Canada West that are going to be squaring off in the second half of the season. So, guys, how can people watch and listen to you tonight when you're broadcasting both the Pandas and the Bears, who are continuing to roll under Jeff Pippa's big win last night over the Huskies? How can people watch and listen to you?
If you want to join us in person, go to betheroar.ca to get tickets. We should mention it was an incredible crowd last night. Anytime Saskatchewan is playing Alberta, there's going to be a ton of traveling fans. So if you can't make it down, go to canadawest.tv. All the games are available there. And I think we're in for something really, really fun tonight. You mentioned the Golden Bears as well. They're starting to get rolling as well, too. So we're going to have 2 fantastic games between, 2 classic rivals. Doug mentioned it last night. Because of the new scheduling, we don't really see a lot of these classic matchups anymore. And when you do, they're a little bit special. They're a little more special than they were in the past. So yeah, canadawest.tv if you want to see what's going to be 2 really fun games tonight.
And Doug, what time do the games get started?
Pandas will tip off at 5, Golden Bears roughly 7, depending. Last night we were a little delayed. Unfortunate injury to Reese Hall last night, so that delayed the game a little bit. The first one's started a bit later, but 5 and 7 will be the tip-offs tonight.
Well, folks, if you can't make it out, and I would say make every effort you can to make it out, because as Mark indicated, when Saskatchewan and Alberta play, it is something always that is very special. But if not, you can't do better than to listen to these 2 guys call the game. Doug, Mark, thanks so much for joining us today. Have a great call tonight, and look forward to talking to you both soon.
Thanks, Paul.
Awesome.
Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Paul. Have a good rest of the show.
Thank you. Doug MacLean, Mark Mougeot joining us here on Hoop City with Paul Sir. We're going to take a break right now, and when we come back, we're going to do the deep dive with Steve Sir and Spencer Dorward. We're going to go into the NBA for a little bit, but we're really going to go into the NCAA. You're listening to us on Sports 1440, your sports leader.
This month in Sports History Moment is brought to you by Discount Diesel Parts.
January 9th, 1977, Minnesota quarterback Frank Tarkenton guarantees a Super Bowl victory in a pregame speech. However, the Oakland Raiders had different plans as their quarterback Ken Stabler completes 12 of 19 passes and the team runs for 266 yards in a 32-14 victory. "We had tougher games in the AFC than we did today," said John Madden, a winner in his only Super Bowl as head coach.
Hi, folks. This is Big Al from Discount Diesel Parts. Interstate McBee is a highly respected manufacturer with over 70 years experience in the heavy-duty diesel engine parts industry. And as an authorized dealer, we've been serving Western Canada with those high-quality engine parts for highway trucks, farm machinery, heavy equipment, transit, and marine, and at a great price, too. Reach us at discountdiesel.ca and know that Discount Diesel's got the parts to get it done.
When your driveway's covered in snow, Toro and the Lawnmower Hospital have you covered. Toro's gas or battery-powered single-stage power clear snowblowers make it easy to clear right down to the concrete with incredible Toro-powered Propel technology. Face the next snow day without fear thanks to Toro and the Lawnmower Hospital. Visit lawnmowerhospital.com.
The Lawnmower Hospital.
Saturday mornings live on Sports 1440. Powered by Subaru. Confidence in motion. Visit Subaru.ca. Smart. Connected. Community driven. Jason Greger sets the standard for sports talk in Edmonton. Join the conversation on Sports 1440. Text Greger. 833-401-1440. Sports 1440, where Edmonton talks sports. From the first face-off
Sports 1440 is your home for hockey talk with live coverage, expert analysis, and pre- and post-game shows. We bring you closer to the game. Tune in 24/7 only on Sports 1440, Edmonton's sports station.
A little ice and snow can't stop your Canadian spirit, especially when you start at the Lawnmower Hospital. Come find a wide selection of top-performing snowblowers, sweepers, and backpack blowers from the best names in snow removal, like Toro, Ariens, Echo, and BCS. Don't forget to pick up pet-safe, plant-safe ice melt, along with Aspen Fuel to keep you clearing. The Lawnmower Hospital. Visit lawnmowerhosp.com.
The Lawnmower Hospital.
Around 3.4 million Canadians live with diabetes every day, a condition that can lead to nerve damage, kidney or heart failure, blindness, and more. You can make a real difference in the lives of those affected by diabetes by giving to Diabetes Canada. Your contribution helps fund vital research, access to care, and educational programs. From empowering patients to advocating for a diabetes-friendly nation, your support matters. Together, we're shaping a healthier future for all Canadians. Visit diabetes.ca.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free Radio Player app and listen wherever you go.
This is Hoop City with Paul Sir on Sports 1440.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry! We did it!
Here's your host, Paul Sir.
Welcome back. Sports 1440. This is Hoop City with Paul Sir, Josh Fenwick. Josh, before we get going with our guests, would you mind reminding our listeners about our poll today? Sorry to put you on the spot like that.
No, that's all good. Our poll today, who is the biggest surprise at this point in the NBA season? Or what is the biggest surprise? Is it OKC sliding in the standings? Boston Celtics and their success? The Knicks and their sputtering? Or is it the Phoenix Suns resurgence? As of right now, we have a three-way tie between OKC, Boston, and Phoenix.
Interesting. I'm going to bring our guests in right now, and I'm going to ask you guys what your thoughts are. First of all, I'd like to welcome to the program today two legends from Ross Shepherd High School. Together in 2000, they won a provincial championship. Steve was with the 1999 Ross Shep team that won a provincial championship as well. And Spencer was on the team in 2001 for the three-peat for the T-Birds that won the provincial championship as well. I still say the finest teams in Alberta history. Three-peat is something that nobody else has done. And these guys were great players. Spencer played at the University of Alberta and at Concordia. Steve played in the United States, of course, and still is very active, both coaching and some playing in 3x3. So, guys, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. So we had a little bit of a different take for our poll question about there's some big surprises in the season so far. So Spencer, I'll go to you. Is it OKC's slide? Because they looked invincible. What was it, 24-1 at one point? And then San Antonio seemed to really unsettle them. The Celtics have surprised everybody, I think, losing Tatum to what may be a season-ending injury, although there's lots of rumors that he'll be back for the playoffs. The Knicks are sputtering. They, I think, were the clear heavy favorites. People were putting them like second or third in the power rankings in the league, but now they're really struggling. And I think a big surprise is Phoenix's resurgence. I mean, they were terrible the last few years. And Dylan Brooks, the Canadian, who you would never associate with a huge turnaround, has been a real spark for them. But if you had to pick between those four, what would you say is the biggest surprise?
Probably OKC. Yeah, just because they came out so hot.
Yeah,
and now they're sputtering a bit, like you said. I think that's normal though over the course of the season. It's so hard to keep that up over so many games.
Exactly. The often said it's a marathon, not a sprint. And that really, I think, shows through. But I'll go to you, Steve, on this one. That's partially true. And Josh made an interesting point in a discussion we were having a little bit earlier. Can you point to the Thunder's youth a bit, even though they're the defending NBA champions? They're still awfully young, so there's still a learning curve in there, isn't there?
There is. Also speaks to how good the league has gotten. Teams have accumulated talent. Guys are probably ahead of schedule in certain cases of what people expected of them. I don't think in the Spurs case, they thought that their guards were going to be as good as they have been this quickly. I think what's interesting also too about OKC's sputter is that they don't shoot the ball particularly well, especially over this stretch, which is not rocket science to point out. But Caruso's not a really good shooter. Dort has shot the ball poorly this year, or at least it's gone way down from last year. And if teams are going to make any gambles on how do we beat these guys, you can see over the last however many games, I believe it's 10 or 11, the Spurs were the ones that did it the clearest, where they just said, like, go ahead and shoot. It's interesting seeing NBA teams make that choice now, where they'll leave guys in the corner and just say, if you make 7 threes today, good for you. That's an approach I saw 10, 11 years ago playing 5-on-5 in Europe, where a coach would just say flat out, like, if this guy's open, don't guard him. And just say, like, if he makes 10 threes today, that's for the coach. That's for me. And we had a guy on our team in Switzerland 10 years ago that was just abysmal behind the three-point line. And when we were good, teams just made the conscientious choice to switch to leave him and don't guard him. And it really hurt us because it throws you for a loop of having a player so wide open that they think of, I should probably shoot it. And that's exactly what the other team wants. You can see that the Spurs in particular have made that choice with Caruso, where it's shoot 10, man. You're not gonna make enough to beat us.
Well, and I think too, the more conscious efforts by the Spurs that they made to get the ball out of SGA's hands quicker. Mm-hmm. Like they really made an effort, and that led to open shots for Caruso and Dort. I always think back, Spence, at Concordia. I remember a couple of players who I would ask why they took that three, and they said, because I'm open. I said, there's a reason for that. Yeah. Yeah. There's an absolute reason for that. They want you open because they know, that isn't your best shot. So let's talk a little NBA before we dive into the NCAA, which is really why what I'm really excited about talking about. So, Steve, we've got trades. We had a trade that last year we had the blockbuster trade, the most bizarre, one of the most bizarre trades in NBA history, with sending Luka to the Lakers for not much. AD often injured again. Anthony Davis. And now you've got Trae Young, who has been a premier all-star guard, four-time all-star for the Atlanta Hawks. Yeah. It was interesting because fellow Thunderbird is the GM of the Atlanta Hawks, Ansi Salah. Yeah. And Ansi is not. He has come in with a bang, and he's been determined to remake this Hawk lineup. And it became apparent as the Hawks were winning without Trae Young that they were going to make a move. A guy like Trae Young's hard to play with, isn't it? Like, he ball dominant point guard, small, takes a lot of awkward shots, good passer, but a lot of times makes passes at awkward times and is really a liability on defense. Were you surprised at the trade? And I guess the gist of my question, a lot of people have said, well, they didn't get enough for him. Now, this isn't Luka bad. CJ McCollum's a really good player. Kispert's a real good role player. But did they get enough, or is it addition by subtraction? More important to get his salary and style of play out of the organization to try to add new talent around the pretty darn good core that they have right now.
It's probably a few of those things. It's well documented how much Trae Young struggles defensively in the NBA and how that's so heavily targeted by other teams. It's been pointed out that McCollum is not a huge upgrade on defense, but at least you're getting a little more steadiness. Probably a pretty good veteran leadership presence in the locker room.
Always seems like teams like having him
as
part of the
rotation.
rotation.
Always seems to be a place, and he's a guy that is easy to like. where I think it gets interesting for Atlanta is Ansi has made good moves. You could tell last year when they didn't extend Trae Young that it was clear that they're probably going to move away from him. All the talk was around that. I don't think that's a real profound observation. It doesn't seem like he's the easiest guy to play for. There's often times when you look at stats of, well, he leads the league in assists or he's high in assists. And it's like, yeah, and would you really want to play with him though? And you oftentimes defaulted to, is it like the modern day assist stuff where you see those numbers of, well, only 7 players have averaged 22 and 7. And it's all guys who play in this era because it's like basically pass 2 dribbles, then take the steps. And that counts as an assist in the NBA. I think when you have a high assist guy, everyone would have wanted to play with Steve Nash. Everyone would have wanted to play with John Stockton. Everyone would want to play with Magic Johnson. Everyone would have wanted to play with Gary Payton. Those are guys that when they had assist numbers and were point guards, it's like if you were picking teams, you'd probably start with those guys. I have a really hard time believing that everyone would be like, well, I got to have Trae. I don't buy that. He doesn't really defend. The foul baiting stuff is weird and really difficult for other guys to play with the flow. Watching Atlanta a few times, you can see the team that they want to try and build, and it just doesn't seem to fit with what Trae Young does. There were some good pickups in the offseason for them, like Alexander Walker, really good pickup.
Really good pickup.
He's averaging almost 20.
Yeah.
So
Wolves really
they
made a mistake.
really made a mistake there. So to circle back to answer your question, it's not as profound a trade as Luka thing, not even in the same ballpark. It is funny that the Hawks could have drafted Luka, and now you're moving off the guy that you picked ahead of him. And, that doesn't look great. But it's probably for them time to move on. And then also, so you got to get off the contract. In the way that the current structure is, you got to get off the money.
Yeah, the second apron is just killing everybody. And when you start looking at it getting like that. Spence, you were a point guard, and you were always a lot. And I think I can say this without blowing smoke. Everybody loved playing with you because you were always looking to make others better, and you scored when you had to.
Right.
You weren't looking to score. Ja Morant, would you want to play with Ja Morant?
Focused Ja Morant or unfocused Ja Morant?
Ja Morant.
Because
you get both.
Yeah.
And you get locker room Ja Morant, and you get nightclub Ja Morant.
No. I think the easy answer is no. Someone like that, I wouldn't. I'd want to touch on something with Trae quickly.
Oh, please.
Going back to what Steve was talking about, I'm sorry to move off
I'm
of this,
glad.
but there's no market for that contract. He's a player option next year. So teams don't have certainty over him past next year. He could opt out and be a free agent. So teams aren't going to be offering awesome players for Trae Young for 1 year. I think it's also Jalen Johnson's team. This guy's been unbelievable and maybe fast tracked this trade a little bit because of his emergence. And I like what you said about Nikhil Alexander Walker.
Huge acquisition.
Yeah, well, he's been great. And Dyson Daniels has been awesome. I think it changes the roles around the team to a more traditional style of how you build a winning team. And you can see it in the record without him.
Well, and that's the thing. You have a sample size that's meaningful that says we're better without this guy on the court.
With him. Yeah. 2-8 with him, and I think 15-13 without him or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some more guys saying, okay, now I know what role I'm slotted in.
Yes.
And not so much overlap. I think that's huge. And then I'm interested to see what they do with the expiring deal for CJ, because CJ has, I think, a $35 million deal or a $30 million deal. I don't know exactly, that expires this year. So maybe they can use that to get another asset.
I know.
That's probably part of the plan, I would think.
I know.
So I'm interested. I think Ansi's doing a great job.
He is. Had a great math department over at Ross Shep. Set Ansi up for success.
Yeah,
so that's
there you
great.
go. What do you think about Ja?
I wouldn't touch him with it. I wouldn't. There's not a player I'd want less on my team in the NBA than Ja Morant.
Ben Simmons?
Well, he's not in the NBA anymore. What's he doing now? He's doing something weird.
Fishing.
Yeah, he's fishing. So
good for him.
Ben Simmons. Yeah, that's. I'll tell you what. You're talking. That's really low. But no, I'm not a Ja Morant guy. Fabulous to watch when he's focused. Fabulous to watch, but you can't look at what Ja Morant brings to your organization with any kind of certainty. With the switch now, based on the success, I believe, of the Thunder and the emphasis on building culture, Denver building culture, Spurs building culture. I mean, how many years did the Spurs lose to get to here? A lot.
But you could run down the line. I mean, the Celtics lose Tatum, and they're still good.
Yes,
and that's
culture.
A few moves, but it's a foundational culture thing. And what the Grizzlies are proving is similar to what with the Hawks is you're also not winning with a superstar guy. There's a sample size to point to with the Grizzlies where you're not playing great with Ja. So there isn't something to point to for other teams of, well, he's this and he's that, but boy, they're playing great. Like if we get this guy, he's going to really give us a boost. You can always default in the NBA to change of scenery that might excite them. But then when does it just be like a guy's a guy and problems are going to follow? And maybe he goes and he gets the right people around him and it completely changes. But what if it doesn't? Like Spencer was saying, with the amount of money involved now and how you can tie your franchise to some of these guys and struggle for an unforeseeable amount of time, why would you do that instead of just waiting, get to the summer, see what other assets you can get? There's so much more of an emphasis now of find shooters, get good role players, find them on deals, stockpile assets. There's going to be all this movement with the trades that have been made and the upcoming draft that's expected to be really good. Why do it?
Well, it's interesting, Spence, you're in business. A lot of businesses talk about being scalable. Being able to take a model and expand on it. The thing about the Thunder and Spur model of building through the draft, through surgical strategic trades, is that is scalable. Every team can lose for a few years to build the right nucleus of good players. And it's different than LeBron going to Miami with Dwayne and bringing Chris in and, all this superstar stuff. So you've got a guy like Ja Morant. It's crickets right now. But you look at Giannis too. That's going to be really hard. And Giannis, I think wisely so. And I think it's pretty sincere. Giannis came out very strongly saying, I'm not asking to be traded. I want to be here. But Giannis is a bit of a different cat because his whole family's embedded in Milwaukee. And plus, when you take Giannis, you take his bro,
which is not great.
He's not going to help your team. So I think the pathway forward for a lot of these teams is, you know what? We're going to lose until we get our guys, right?
Yeah, well, I think so. And you have to remember with Anssi, he grew up with the Spurs. He was an intern in law school with the Spurs. So he learned with R.C. Buford and Greg Popovich in the organization. He then went to Golden State, also a system. So he's been in systems
that has been at their peak too.
Been at their peak. Yeah, he's seen them at their peak of the powers. So he's been there. So he's trying to emulate that. And I know he hasn't been involved with OKC, but you mentioned that. And similar type of building strategy. I think, although that's a little bit of a unicorn because they've acquired so many assets, but I think they're really trying to build something sustainable for a long time. Anssi said he's not trying to build something for the short term. And I think in the NBA, that's probably the new thing that most people are going to start doing. Like the Celtics are doing it now. And it may be easier said than done, of course. But
you have to try.
For sure, especially with the money. You can't build through free agency. It's very difficult to trade.
And the money is really an important part of this because the way that they have built the salary levels into it now, it is crippling to go into what they call the second apron, where you exceed it and you pay crippling amounts of money that even make the wealthiest billionaire balk at what you've got to spend to be competitive. So building this other way, and again, I go back to the point of being scalable. You can lose until you build to win. And then if you have the acumen in the front office that you draft wisely, you get some surprises. I mean, think of the absurdity of Nikola Jokic being a second-round draft pick. I mean, things like that. You got to have a little bit of luck. But I think the whole trade market, and don't you guys feel that there's like with the Cooper Flag, for instance, he's really good. Con Kneppel, he's really, really good. And there's a bunch of other really good rookies this year that the quality what I would say is that the players arriving now seem to be better overall players than we've seen. And now with this deep draft pool, I think teams are really seeing that, you know what, this can work for us. We really don't need to go out and sell the house in order to pick up a 25-point-a-game guy.
Sure. It's also been proven to show along the line with the NBA that if you are going to lose and if you are struggling, you do have to show that you are committed to it getting better. When you think back to the 76ers, when they did their trust the process garbage, it was really bad and they wanted it to stay bad. And how it was over time easy to acknowledge, you've created a losing mentality and a losing culture in a locker room. And then all of a sudden with the idea that we're going to get a great draft pick or we'll get a huge free agent coming in, it's not good in here because guys have been told over success or consecutive years, it's okay to be bad, guys. We're going to just be bad and we're going to be bad. And there wasn't any real plan towards what happens when you're good and you still have that mentality of we're okay being bad. I like this part of it where you're not going to see the superstar guy in the middle of the season say, I just want to leave and I'm not going to play and I'm not going to do anything. And teams had no choice but to move them.
James Harden.
Yeah. And it
nightmare.
It was a tough thing to be excited about with the NBA. And if you're going to see less of that and there's more of a commitment to like, all right, we're going to wait and we're going to maybe see where we can get more assets for this. We're not going to rush into just matching contracts and taking back something that we don't want. If that leads to a longer plan, then that also gives a fan base the opportunity to watch and say, we'll be good in 2 years. We'll be good in 3 years. And if we aren't, it's at least going to be a team that plays hard. I like to throw one more thing at you guys in this. I like that there's this thing in the NBA right now that seems that it's kind of become way more exciting and important for teams to just play hard. You mentioned the Phoenix Suns earlier, and when you watch them play, especially versus last year when it was the opposite, they play really hard. That seems to be like the Jazz aren't very good, but they do play hard. And some of these teams that have younger coaches that have come in that have established this urgency that wasn't existing with some of the same clubs a couple of years ago, where they're playing harder now, doesn't that give teams more optimism to think if we do this and then add the right way, we're going to be good or we'll get better anyway?
I think that's a great point. And Spence, I'll jump over to you on this. I have, it's a noticeable difference. I saw it last year in the Pacers. I mean, they weren't that good, but they played so hard and they found a way to get not just to the NBA Finals, but to go to 7 games with a vastly inferior team, top to bottom, talent-wise, than say OKC. But they just were busting their butts out there. Even this year, I've watched them a couple of times. They're dreadful. They're having a dreadful year, but they play really hard. Yeah. Phoenix plays really hard every night. Heck, I never thought I'd say I really like watching the Portland Trailblazers play, but I'll tell you what, I really like watching them play. They're good. And the kid from Israel is fantastic. Yeah, like what a talent. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, I do. And I think maybe there's a little bit of a changing of the guard in the NBA. Yes. So the younger guys are coming in and they're so talented. And you're seeing the old guys, like we're getting up there in years. We're not to Paul yet. We'll be. But all the players we grew up with are getting older and they're going to be out of the league soon. We're starting to see this abundance of talent. And I think maybe the mindset's different. I don't know.
Well, we're going a little long on this, but I want to kind of stay the pit bull on a poodle on this one. But I think pointing to Phoenix, Kevin Durant came out in an interview yesterday or the day before talking about how he was the scapegoat for Phoenix. And yeah, but you kind of earned it because you didn't play that hard and you were hurt. You're older. Yeah, you were hurt. You got to be fair. But when you bring in a guy like Brooks, who has, in my mind, been one of the biggest surprises ever in the NBA, because when he came out of Oregon, I never expected him to be this kind of player. I've been wrong on a lot of things. Yeah. I didn't think Lou Dort was quite good enough to play in the NBA. And I thought Dylan Brooks would be pretty marginal, maybe a role player, but not that quick, not that explosive. The guy is an integral part of winning culture everywhere he goes. Yeah. And yeah, he's a little dramatic, flair for the dramatic. I like it.
You want him on your team.
You want him on your team. And the great thing is the other guys don't want to play against him. And he changes everybody around him. He doesn't compromise his effort. So I think that playing hard is really important. And the new guard coming in, kids are coming in and they only know what they know. And they step right in. I mean, Cooper Flagg's 19 years old.
Yeah, he's a freshman right now.
Barely, freshman in college, and he's coming in. Yeah. And he's just fine.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a break right now. I'm here with Steve Sir, Spencer Dorward, and we'll come back and we're going to dive into the NCAA. You're listening to Hoop City with Paul Sir on Sports 1440.
If you're without personal health insurance benefits from your employer and are self-employed or retiring, contact Innovative Benefits. Innovative Benefits helps break down personal health plans to put you in the driver's seat and reduce your net cost. They'll help identify the best plan for you and your family so you can pay for what you do use and look how to reduce what you don't use. Don't be left out in the cold. Understand all your options with Innovative Benefits. For more information, visit innovativebenefits.ca today.
This month in Sports History Moment is brought to you by Discount Diesel Parts.
January 9th, 1972. The NBA's Los Angeles Lakers 33-game win streak ends in a 120-104 loss to the Milwaukee Bucks. Lakers head coach Bill Sharman said, "It will be many, many years before anybody wins 33 games in a row again." As of now, he is correct. No North American professional team in any major sport has bettered the Lakers' record.
Hi, folks. This is Big Al from Discount Diesel Parts. With over 70 years' experience, Interstate McBee is a leader in the heavy-duty diesel engine parts industry. And as an authorized dealer for over 20 years, we've been serving customers with those high-quality parts. Gasket kits, water and oil pumps, turbos, fuel injectors, heads, in-frame kits, and at a great price, too. Reach us at discountdiesel.ca and know that Discount Diesel's got the parts to get it done.
Saturday mornings live on Sports 1440. Powered by Subaru, a world-class leader in environmental performance. Visit Subaru.ca.
It's the 46th annual Big Brothers and Big Sisters Dream Home and Win 50 Lottery Day on Sports 1440. You can win your choice of a $1.1 million dream home now open in St. Albert or $1 million in cash. Get more info and tickets at bigbrothersdreamhome.org.
This is Hoop City with Paul Sir on Sports 1440.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry! We did it!
Here's your host, Paul Sir.
Welcome back. Hoop City, Paul Sir, Josh Fenwick, joined by Spencer Dorward, Steve Sir. Here on your sports leader, Sports 1440. We're going to jump over to the NCAA now because, guys, I mean, Steve, you played in the NCAA a long time ago now. It's an unrecognizable world. Like when you were playing, coaches were being investigated for buying pizza for their team. Now you're paying guys millions of dollars just to come and sit for, play for a year. I'd love to see how much a lot of these guys go to class, but it's a pro business. I'll talk about some comments Jay Billis made about it in a little bit. But I'm going to start with you, Spence. There's been all of this fuss over Baylor picking up a guy who was drafted by the NBA, right? Played in the summer league, had his rights. You mentioned rights traded 3 times. Has been playing over in Europe as a pro. Now he's playing for Baylor in the second semester. What's that all about?
Yes, he was drafted in the 2023 draft, 31st overall. So when you're drafted in the second round, you don't get a guaranteed contract. He didn't sign a 2-way deal where he can go from the NBA to the G League back and forth, and he didn't sign a professional contract with an NBA team. So by the NCAA rules, he was never under their jurisdiction and rule book, ever. Because he never played in the NCAA. So yes, he played pro. So the NCAA looks at that and they say, if you sign a 2-way contract or a pro contract in the NBA, you're done. You can't play for the NCAA, but he never did that. So what they do then is say, okay, well, what kind of pro league did he play in Europe? Was he a and there's a very specific definition, but they make their own interpretation of their own definition sometimes. So if you're an employee, a professional employee who's making a salary, you are not eligible to play in the NCAA. But if you're getting reimbursed for expenses and they put you up in a house and they pay your food, that's okay. So he falls under that with his pro experience in Europe.
So all they did is pay his rent and his food, apparently?
Yes. Yes, he was never deemed to be a professional on a professional contract, even in Europe. And you're seeing an influx of Europeans coming in to the NCAA who are under the same type of thing. His difference was that he was drafted in the NBA, which sent everyone going bonkers. This guy has a rookie card. He's guarding Wemby in summer league, but under their rules, which no one really can understand them, he's allowed to play.
Isn't this indicative, Steve, of what has gone from one extreme to the other in the NCAA, where the rules before were so draconian for so long, like just iron-fisted governance and specific, even though, like Spence also said, the rules were open to interpretation in certain situations, to a point now where it's kind of they throwing the saloon doors open and you're just looking out over the Wild West prairie and saying, well, this can work too. You can get drafted in the NBA, play professionally overseas, and still play college basketball. It goes far deeper than that.
It does. We said it when this happened. Once you go, you can't come back. You're not going to be able to all of a sudden blow the doors off and say, we're going to pay players, and not just pay players, we're going to pay them big money in certain cases. It's been Patino voiced this, I think, a week or two ago. College basketball teams and college and universities have bigger budgets than some EuroLeague teams. Why, if you were over playing in Europe, would you not want to come play college basketball, especially if there is open doors and interpretation for some of the rules that they have? Why wouldn't you? Like, I think we were talking about this the other night. If I'm a young player in, I don't know, third division in Germany, and I'm busting my butt and going to 2-a-day practices, and I'm making 1,500 euros a month, because those guys exist and they're top prospects, but they've been earmarked for, you'll be playing first division in Germany in 5 years. And then you'll be on one of the big clubs, and then you'll kind of get your money back for how hard you've been working, but you'll get national team and you play U23 and you'll do all this stuff, but you're not making money. If I'm 20 years old and I'm saying, man, Creighton's offering me what? I'm out of here. And why wouldn't you? And from that end of it, you can never fault the player. But what the NCAA has done is they blew the doors off of this. They didn't just open it up. They blew it off. And there's no going back on this now. So now you're going to have to figure out the right way to manage it. It's really hard to compare it to the era that I played in, because, like, as you mentioned,
two different worlds.
If you gave money to a player on your team for gas because he, I don't know, drove to practice and couldn't get back home, you were possibly subject to not just a fine, but a suspension, some kind of thing where you were going to not be able to coach, not be able to work, all off of just helping one of your players out. So it's weird to compare at this point, because it went from being so unhelpful where you couldn't do anything for your guys. And if you did, you had to do it with the tightest seal on what was going on, to all the way of like, I don't need to do anything for them because in certain cases, these guys are making more money than I am. Yeah. It's bizarre.
Charlie Baker Paul came out. He's the president of the NCAA. And around this James Najee time, I think it was December 30th.
Yeah.
And he tweeted over the holidays about this. And he said, listen, like, we try to enforce stuff. We just get taken to court.
Yeah.
And we lose. However, right now, and there was also a big debate about Trenton Flowers, who plays for the Bulls, who's played 6 to 8 games, apparently being interested in playing in NCAA. So that's why he came out with a statement saying, if you sign the 2-way or you've played in the NBA, no, you're not playing. However, they've said stuff in the past that's got overturned. So the door's open and cracked. That's what people are worried about. I'm not saying it's good or bad.
No, but
there's good and bad, I think.
One of the absurd,
that's the reality.
That is the reality. And the fact that they're talking about going to court, now that you've opened the floodgates, going to court, like, jokingly people say, well, LeBron's still got eligibility. He can go play at Ohio State.
Yeah.
If he wants. Hey, you know what? He's got money to pay for lawyers. He takes the NCAA to court. He's a Buckeye. Probably in two years from now. He's 44 years old playing for the Buckeyes. Like, who knows what could happen now, because you've gotten so liberal. You've eliminated JUCO eligibility. So you're a high school kid now. The likelihood, if you want a pathway into a D1 school, you're going to probably have to play JUCO in a lot more situations than you used to, because freshmen, high school seniors aren't being recruited anymore like they used to be. Everybody's looking at older players overseas, other schools, transfer portal. Unless you're really in that upper echelon, it's going to be harder. I would say that. But a couple of the coaches have talked about ways that you could maybe slow this down and have some sort of control over what really is turning into an avalanche would be a salary cap, for instance.
Yeah.
But I don't know, again, if it's taken to court where now that the cat's out of the bag, Steve, that the NCAA would be able to win that case.
If you only go off of what's already happened, they won't. Every
Right,
lawsuit
precedent.
that the NCAA has, they lose. If it's in Tennessee or if it's in you'll just lose. So if we go off of what's already happened, decent chance that will probably be the way it goes again. I do find it interesting, as a quick aside, and I'm not against it, but I just find it interesting, is how what you mentioned before, the keyword being like coaches and control, of they had everything buttoned up.
Everything.
And and what I always found interesting with this, I remember thinking this when I was a player, is man, these guys can leave with no issue. I have to transfer. I have to sit. I'm just changing schools. Like I'm the one taking the risk. I'm leaving whatever friends I've made. I'm leaving whatever comfort I've established at that school, and I'm moving to another spot. Like I left San Diego State. I was excited to go to Northern Arizona. I was really nervous. I didn't know any of those guys. You're transferring based on conversations with a coach. I might have transferred to Northern Arizona, and the coach that was there just up and left because he got another job, and he could have, because that's the nature of the business. So when I think about what you said of coaches in control, and they're trying to figure out how they can do this, I get it. You run these programs. You have to be able to, like we were talking before, even with the NBA, I want to be good now, but I want to be good next year. I want to be good the year after. How do I do that if I'm recruiting entirely new rosters every single year and I have no control over that? But where it's easy to, if you want to flip that coin, where it's easy to say, but guys, if you were our guy who left Maryland, Willard,
yeah,
I'm never leaving Maryland. And it's like, cool, man, everybody knows you're talking to Villanova. This is a known thing.
Yeah.
And then you leave and go after you probably swore up and down you wouldn't. And why? Bigger job, more prestige, more money. And these negotiations take a long time through agents. And the kids are stuck there. Or they're without the coach that recruited them. So it's an interesting point to be at, where the coach is, like you said, I want some control over this. And it's like, but forever you guys had all the control. And then when you chose that it was your time to go make more money or coach a bigger program, you could just up and go, and the kids had to figure it out from there. I don't know what my formed opinion is on that in the end, but it sure is interesting to see now people scrambling for control when before they had all of it.
Can you guys stay into the next segment?
Yeah.
We'll talk about 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
Josh, why don't we take our break right now? And then we'll come back, because what I want to talk about is, all right, this is the lay of the land now. What's it going to be like in 5 years? Like what, now that the lock is off the door and everybody's running through it, what could this evolve into? You're listening to Hoop City with Paul Sir, along with Spence Dorward, Steve Sir, here on your sports leader, Sports 1440.
From the locker room to your radio, Sports 1440 is Edmonton's sports leader. Real talk, big personalities, and your texts. It's interactive. It's fun. It's where Edmonton talks sports. Sports 1440.
Winter snow and ice are nothing to fear when the Lawnmower Hospital's in your corner. Keep pathways clear of snow with the Echo PB770T backpack blower, or go even bigger with the huge PB9010T. Right now, buy select commercial walk-behind BCS sweepers and get the Echo PB9010T for free. The Lawnmower Hospital has pet-safe, plant-safe ice melt, too. Visit lawnmowerhospital.com.
The Lawnmower Hospital. When you hit the ice, it's all about you and your skates. The stride, the feel, the glide, the power, the performance. Why trust your skates to a grinding machine, or even worse, a tournament parent in a parking lot? At Aligned Custom Skate Performance in Sherwood Park, the art of skate fitting and sharpening is customized to the athlete.
Align Custom Skate Performance, where precision meets passion. Oh.
Visit AlignedSkate.com to learn more.
Escape the cold and catch the hottest sports action at Selly's Sports Bar and Lounge. Not a bad seat in the house. All the games and tons of big screens. Plus, Selly's menu has something for everyone, along with game night food and drink features. And this January, Oilers watch parties continue. So bring your friends and cheer loud and proud. Sally's Sports Bar and Lounge at all 3 Century Casino locations, Edmonton, St. Albert, and Century Mile.
Every day is game day at Century Casino.
Hot coffee, hotter takes, and the sports stories that matter. Check out Kevin Carrions weekday mornings from 7 to 11 on Edmonton's sports leader, Sports 1440. Be part of the conversation. 833-401-1440.
Saturday mornings live on Sports 1440, powered by Subaru. Welcome to Uncommon. Visit Subaru.ca.
It's the 46th annual Big Brothers and Big Sisters Dream Home and Win 50 Lottery Day on Sports 1440. You can win your choice of a $1.1 million dream home now open in St. Albert or $1 million in cash. Get more info and tickets at bigbrothersdreamhome.org.
This is Hoop City with Paul Sir on Sports 1440.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry! We did it!
Here's your host, Paul Sir.
Welcome back. Sports 1440, Paul Sir, along with Josh Fenwick. Josh, before we get going in our last segment, let's go over the poll results from this week.
Poll results. It ended with the 3-way tie.
It did.
It did. Nobody cared about the Knicks sputtering. It was not a surprise. Shocking, the Knicks.
Yes.
But yeah, 3-way tie between OKC's slide, the Celtics' success, and the Phoenix and their resurgence.
Again, let's give
on the
credit
back of Dylan Brooks.
Let's give credit where credit is due to our listeners. It's I think there are compelling reasons for all 3 of those choices. So we're here right now with Lila and Isabel Sir, along with their dad, Steve, and Spence Dorward here at the studios. As Bill, the weatherman, used to say, the palatial studios here at Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall. But we're talking about the NCAA and having a great discussion about this, and I really wanted to continue. So Spence, here's my preliminary remark.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Billis, I watched one of his blurbs that he does during the week, and he talked about change is here to stay.
Yeah.
By the way, the interest is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
People love what they're seeing. I would be hard-pressed to say that the top 25 teams right now they're about as good as I've ever seen.
Yeah.
1 through 20, 1 through 50. Like, these guys can play.
Yeah, they're good.
So where does this go in 5 years? Like, do you think the NCAA is going to be able to put any guardrails up to slow this down? Or are schools going to be doing like the University of Utah, where they have a sports business management organization that's part of their university that they contract out to run the business of sport, raise the money to pay the athletes to recruit them in? Can the NCAA slow this down, or is just the herd of cats out and you're not going to get back in the corral?
I think it's a little bit like inflation. It doesn't come back down.
Yes.
When it goes up. No, I think we're here to stay.
Spoken like a true accountant.
Yeah. Let's talk about accounting.
Let's go into
sure
accounting.
All the listeners would love that. No, I think it's here to stay. I think that it's going to evolve. I think there's some opportunity. I think we're going to still see consolidation, even at a higher rate now, Paul, up from the mid-major schools and the smaller schools to the Power 5 conference schools. That will never stop. It can't. Why wouldn't you take the money if you're a player who's developed for 2 or 3 years at one of these mid-majors and then play for a year or two at a big school? So I think we're going to see that. I think there's going to be, I've read about collective bargaining where this will become a de facto pro league, but that's complicated, and people way smarter than us are probably going to try to figure that out, where players are employees of the school and sign contracts.
Well, right now there's that football situation with the University of Washington where the quarterback signed a 2-year contract. Now signed it last week, and now this week wants out.
Yeah,
wants to go into the portal.
Good luck with that.
Yeah,
I good luck governing that. I mean,
exactly.
It's just it's a mess.
But then you have Lane Kiffin, a lot of years left, and he leaves Mississippi State before the season's over.
Yep.
to head to LSU,
right? So
and
there's-
gets away with it.
There's buyouts involved in that stuff. Maybe there'll be some rule changes around how often someone can transfer. I know the coaches would push for that.
Yes.
But why would the players agree to that? And they don't have any rights now to bargain. But again, this goes into the court, and a court's going to reverse the Wild West that we have now. Pretty hard to do because now there's precedence. I think there's an opportunity, though, and we touched on this in the break, but for mid-major coaches to be recruiting kids now who maybe would have been recruited by a bigger school a few years back when players couldn't be paid, to recruit those kids and say, listen, like, we know you, we only have you for a year or two. We're cool.
In fact, we want you for a year or two.
We don't want you more than that. We're going to develop you and you're going to get paid. We have something in place, a program for you where you will, if you're successful here, and we trust ourselves developing you, player, that you will get NIL money from a Power 5 school if you come here. Look at what we've done. And so there's an opportunity for mid-majors to do that.
So you become a farm. You become
your farm system.
Your farm system, a G League, that sort of thing.
Well, you're also going to see, I think, and sorry to talk here, but
great.
I think that you're going to see NBA teams how in the past they've stashed draft picks, right? So why would you stash a draft pick in Europe? Now,
Don't need to anymore
when they can just go to the Big 12 and play for BYU.
Yeah,
like they can get paid more money. You have more access to them because they're right in your backyard. You can watch them play more. You have more control over their training situation. Like it's going to become that for the NBA, I think, which you have some purists in college basketball who like hate hearing that. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not advocating for it. So there's really going to be a big divide between the mid majors and the Power Fives.
But I think what the word purist now is completely different than it was 10 years ago because that's the dodo bird. That's gone away. Okay, so Steve, where are the threats here to college basketball? And a couple of thoughts that I have about that. One of the things I've heard about court cases being prepared is years of eligibility. Why is it only 4? What is that? What's that? Why can't I play here for 8 years? And then the other side, the G League guys who are making less money, traveling like the old Bull Durham in buses, basically idea, but relative to Major League sport. What are the threats to this system? Because the economies of scale here are incredible when you're talking about the millions and millions and millions of dollars being thrown at individual players, the budgets that have to be maintained, the need for outside sources of money. Is there any threat to the integrity of the game itself? Or is there any threat to the game itself? Is it just going to become purely a professional world where it's more like NBA teams and less like college teams?
Hard to say. It'll be interesting to see how the next 5 years look as they try to establish some kind of ground and foothold on how this all works. I was watching TCU play Kansas the other night, and TCU was up 9, I think, with 1:15 to go, and Kansas ends up tying it and winning in overtime. It was an awesome end of the game. This still exists where basketball can be incredibly fun to watch at that level. Last year's Final Four was one of the best Final Fours to watch in recent memory. And everybody knows that the salary and pay scale for all 4 of those teams is higher than a lot of clubs in Europe. So there is that part of it where Spencer mentioned basketball purists. Well, what's the basketball purist part? Do you really, really enjoy watching really good basketball? Or do you just want it to be a way that it was? We know that it's never going to be that way anymore. So do we have to also shift our viewpoint on how this all works? And can you still enjoy the game? And it will hang over it like crazy as it continues to get figured out of what kind of control are the coaches able to take back? How are players going to continue to maneuver all of this where they just either bounce around and chase paychecks, or do they stay and try and win something? Do they want to have a name in a record book?
I'm going to inject something here, though, too, because you're 100% right. What about the trickle-down effect of this, though, on high school, club, AAU, and how young kids now start seeing themselves at earlier and earlier ages? Because I always remember, Steve, when we moved to Minneapolis and you met the kid, Cameron Taylor, I think was his name.
Cameron Taylor.
Top-ranked
5th grader in the country.
Top-ranked 5th grader in the country. back in 1990, 2000, in the year 2000. Like, how is this going to affect how kids see themselves, like, and what they're aspiring to as both players and as advocates for themselves to make as much money as possible?
I throw something on top of that. How are adults going to behave when they see what kids are able to access at earlier ages now? And that's what's more concerning.
100%.
You're going to get people now that know that I can get my kid or I can get my guy on a roster. It doesn't even have to be a superstar. It can just be a solid role player at University of Wisconsin. And he can get paid, which means I can get paid.
Oh, yeah.
And there's going to be, like we know in basketball, like we know in sport, like we know in everything, there are so many hangers on and so many losers that are going to try and get their hooks into people and take whatever they can grab and prey on naivety, where it's, I helped you do this and I helped you do that. You wouldn't be where you are with me. And when I say this, having been in that world, it does exist. There's guys who are not averaging 20 who are guaranteed to go to the league that are just playing pretty good and destined to maybe play after college, and people are still trying to get their hooks in them. That existed 20 years ago. So now when you're talking about the amount of money that's going to go into kids just reaching the level and how that will affect behavior and messaging and where you place your importance, it does concern me now. Are you playing to be the best player you can be? Are you learning to deal with adversity? Are you learning to work on the little things so that I can reach a level and it's a huge dream accomplished? Or is it just, I want to get paid? That's going to present a lot of issues, I think, for young people, because it removes the soul of what has been special about collegiate sports, is because you go there and you have to learn about growing up, maturing, getting tougher, learning to deal with the fact that there's a player above me that's just better than me because they're older than me, and that's the way it is. Yeah. It's going to be harder, I think, to instill those messages and prepare kids. I'm hopeful that it doesn't turn into just all-out ugliness, but there is a path where you look at this where he's like, man, are 13-year-olds getting crazy messaging about money at a time in their life when they just should be playing and learning and having fun? I don't know.
Well, great point.
They're allowed to make money now. Like, they're getting NIL deals now.
Yeah. Yes.
Which is wild.
Yes.
But a business can come and say, hey, I'll pay you X for this appearance or whatever.
Or to
Reebok
hold,
or
hold
Adidas.
There's always talk
they
about the
funnel
campfire.
you towards a school. Yeah.
Yeah. And
for
they,
sure.
I hear this, I've heard this a bunch in the States, is you get kids and it's, it's whisper stuff and hush hush things where it's, so-and-so has a commitment to a school, hasn't signed anything, but they're paying him 10 grand a month to keep the commitment. And he's a sophomore. So this is happening in a way already.
And there's the ugly underbelly.
Yeah.
There's the ugly underbelly. On the surface, if you're just looking at pure business, name, image, and likeness, the people should be able to profit from their hard work and be put in situations to succeed. It's always that underbelly. And then it's up to the ethics of the people that are dictating. This has been great. Spence, you said it so well. We could talk about this for 4 hours. And I'm thinking maybe we'll do a podcast sometime just on this and bring in some other voices too, and spend a couple of hours just talking about this, because it's such a timely, and I'd love to talk about its implications in Canada, because they're very real. And for the first time, we're seeing the drain of mid-major, like the mid-major description you use of you're a good player in Canada now you're going south after you play 1 or 2 years for your club, because they're going, there's this 6'10" kid. Let's get him down here for a couple of years and he can play for us. And
well, you saw it in hockey. WHL player went down to play for Penn State.
Yeah.
Because of NIL.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
That's going to change
more
all of
sports.
that. Yeah, absolutely.
Basketball.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
So Spencer Dorward, thank you very much. Steve, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Lila, Isabel, thank you very much for being patient and for hanging in there with us today. And this is the time of the show that I'd like to take a minute or two and talk about our son, Ben. The song that we play at this time is called David's Song. It's dedicated to a family friend who was tragically killed at an intersection due to a poor driving decision. And we lost our son, Ben, a couple of years ago. And I always like to remind people, if you haven't told the people around you that are most special to you that you love them yet today, please do that immediately. Never take for granted any of the people that are special in your life. Ben, one of the things that he's impacted a lot of people on is he was always kind, and he always tried to see the best in other people. So please try to see the best in each other and make sure like we're our best selves, because we owe it to those that we love that we do that every day. Thank you so much, Josh, for today. It's great to be back with you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back with you too, Paul. Again, like I said, I was missing at about 12:30 on December 20th. So,
like I have to admit, I had pangs of that as well over the last couple of weeks. Everybody who listened today, thanks so much for spending your Saturday with us. Look forward to being back with you again next week, and have a great week on and off the court. You've been listening to Hoop City with Paul Sir here on your Sports Leader, Sports 1440.
Take your skating to the next level with Aligned Custom Skate Performance in Sherwood Park. We make your skates feel like an extension of you. From kids lacing up for the first time to beer league warriors to elite level pros, we fit every skater with precision and care. Only a duster goes straight from off the shelf to on the ice. Our expert alignment process ensures the perfect fit, eliminating pressure points and maximizing your blade's performance. Aligned Custom Skate gives you the edge where it matters most, on the ice. Stop being the team grocery stick and visit AlignedSkate.com today. Whether it's a full custom fitting